This is the new generation Ford Focus ST, and no, it isn't the RS. And if you believe the reports, there's not going to be a new generation Focus RS, and that makes my face go like this. But driving this car makes my face go like this. Goodness me! The Focus ST now has a 2.3 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine with 206 kilowatts and 420 Newton meters. That's insane! And all that grunt, all that power, all that torque has to go through just the front wheels. And it does. And it does it well, which is amazing. There's the choice of this transmission, the 6-speed manual. There's also going to be a 7-speed auto. Yeah, an auto in a Focus ST. That sort of goes against what this car has been about for the last couple of generations. It's always been a manual-only offering, but now there's an auto. And that's going to be good for a lot of people because they've been missing out if they didn't want to drive a manual. Personally, I love the manual. I love the fact that you can take matters into your own hands. I love this transmission. It's very short shifting. It's very involving. The clutch is nice and light, but still with a good weight to it, if you know what I mean. And also, it's just superb the way that it teams with this engine, which has so much pulling power across such a broad range of revs. It is a superb engine, and there is some trickery in terms of how it gets the grunt to the ground. You will notice at times that you can feel the electronics shuffling where the torque should be, depending on what you're doing in what sort of situation. If you're in a corner, for example, you can feel that it will go to the wheel with the most grip and push it out of the corner. It is very involving to steer, and that's one of the things that the Focus ST has done well forever. And this generation version is no different. The steering is excellent. It's super precise, very sharp. And yes, of course, there are different drive modes. There's normal, which is normal. There's slippery, which will help you gain better traction if you need it, if the road's greasy or damp. Then there's sport mode, which I'm in right now, which sharpens things up a little bit over normal. It gives you a little bit more steering response, a little bit more throttle response, a little bit more noise, and a little bit sharper ride as well. And then there's race mode, which I'm not going to use on a public road because it disables some of those electronic nannies which could stop you from spearing off into the paddocks or a wall, and that race mode does make things even more aggressive. Now you might be wondering about 0 to 100 times. It's fast, very fast. Yes, there is a bit of a penalty to pay for ride comfort, but hey, it's a hot hatch. If you can't deal with a firm ride, you shouldn't be buying a hot hatch. It's pretty simple. And the ride does get firmer depending on the mode you're in. In normal mode on country roads like I'm on now, I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly acceptable. If you do hit a pothole, you can notice that the front end might be a little bit clunky over that sort of situation, but generally I've been really impressed. I've spent, well, the best part of 500 Ks in this car already. And the other thing you need to remember is it's a Focus ST, so it's got these amazingly bolstered sports seats which really hug you in your spot. They aren't quite as narrow as the previous generation Focus ST, which, well, let's just say if you were a larger bodied human, you might not have fit in very comfortably. These ones are a little bit more accommodating. Although the seat base is quite hard, I would say that that's a good thing if you're driving a bit more enthusiastically, because you don't really want to be cushioned too much under your bum if you're hooking into a corner. Having spent so much time already in the Focus ST, I've got a few points that I need to make. Number one, I can't wait to drive the Auto. I think it's going to be an absolute weapon. Number 2, this car really reminds me of the previous generation Megane RS, which was all about the driver and how much fun they were having behind the wheel. And it wasn't very practical as a result of that. But this car has practicality on its side. Let me show you. Now, you're buying a hatchback, so you want to know that it's practical, and the Ford Focus ST is. There's 273 litres of cargo capacity in here. And if you're wondering what that looks like, I've got some luggage to show you. That gives you an idea of what to expect. Just means you have to leave the third case behind. Back seat space in the Focus ST is quite good. This seat is set for me, 182 centimeters or 6 foot in the old money. And as you can see, I've got plenty of room behind my own driving position. I've got lots of knee room, lots of foot room, and decent headroom as well. It's pretty surprising in that regard. In terms of the practicality, this might be the perfect car for you to take some friends places if you're allowed, and also if you have kids, there are dual ISOFIX points and 3 top tether points as well. So it's a practical option if you need a car that has a decent sized back seat with some of the stuff you'd expect. There are map pockets, there are big door pockets that are lined so things don't move around too much, and there's even a flip down armrest with cup holders. There are no USB points and no rear seat air vents though, so it's missing a few of the nice elements. And also, one thing that's not very nice is that. Ew! Now, maybe things are better up front when it comes to the materials. Up front in the Focus ST, things are a little bit more plush. Obviously, you've got these amazing Recaro sports seats, which they're like a hug from your mum. They're amazing. And also you get a different door trim fabric. It's not quite as good as it could be, but at least it's better than what's in the back. There's soft elbow pads here. You've also got soft padding on top of the center console bin, which has a little tray in it as well, and a USB port, which is handy if you want to run a USB to the rear. There's a second USB port up here in front of the gear selector, and there's also a storage tray which you could use for your phone, your keys, your wallet, whatever it may be. There's also wireless charging in there for your phone, which is very handy. And there's also a pair of cup holders between the seats, and they're adjustable, which is pretty good. There's bottle holders in each of the doors. They're lined too, so things won't move around too much. And it's pretty well sorted generally in terms of the ergonomics up here. It runs Ford's 8-inch touchscreen media system with the Sync software. It's the latest version of Sync, and it's very easy to use. The screen itself runs Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, sat-nav, digital radio, and you can also control things like the ambient lighting in the cabin through the screen itself. It's very easy to use and very quick to respond as well. There's another screen in front of the driver with things like your digital speedo, your trip computer, all that sort of gear, but there's also analog dials either side of it, which are starting to look a little bit old. And it's got a flat bottom steering wheel because it's a sports model and it has to, and there's a dark headlining as well. That might be your thing, maybe it's not. You can put a sunroof in there as well if you want. That's one of the options available for this car. And there's also the option of which color you choose, and you can read all about the options that you've got available to you at carsguide.com.au in my review. It'll be in the description if you're watching on YouTube. I know I whinged a little bit about the plastics quality, of course, but it's offset by nice things like the Bang & Olufsen sound system, which is standard on every Focus ST, and it's a thumper. You may be wondering about the price tag. Well, it's just under 45 grand, and it comes well stocked with safety equipment and has decent ownership prospects too. Read the full review at the CarsGuide site for all the details. So would I recommend the Ford Focus ST over one of its hot hatch competitors? You know what? I probably would. At this price point, it's very impressive. And with the choice of auto or 6-speed manual, you're getting the best of both worlds. Plus, it's awesome to drive. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date with all our latest videos. And also, check out the link in the description because it's got my full detailed review at the CarsGuide site. You might be wondering what score I'm giving it. Well, here it is.